So I've underwrote 6 self-storage facility deals this week, and we've only made an offer on one of those deals. So in this video, I'm going to show you what I look for as the underwriter for Magnolia Group in a property when a wholesaler initially sends us a deal, or when we first get connected and we first can look at the numbers of a particular property. And in this example, I'm going to be showing just a high-level overview of what do we look for right off the bat to decide whether it's worth our time to keep pursuing this particular deal, or if we should just move on to the next one. So let's jump in it here. This is the Excel sheet that I use, that I built for us. Again, it works for us, but I will say a couple things here. You know, this Excel sheet works for us. It's what we like to use. And then this also, whether it's a deal or not a deal, that is based off the strategy that we have in place. And so just because a property is a good deal for us may not mean it's a good deal for somebody else. And vice versa to that, just because we say, you know what, we don't feel comfortable making an offer on that property, or we just can't get our numbers close enough to even pursue it, doesn't mean that the asking price of the seller wouldn't make a good deal for somebody else out there. So again, this is just what we do. This is just me sharing what I look for in a deal when we first do our underwriting on a property, and before I even send it to Caleb to discuss a strategy after that. So in this particular example, what we're going to be talking about is starting off with a property that is $600,000. And it's important to note that I break everything down into at least a stage 1 and a stage 2. So I want to see, what is the business doing today, stage 1, and then what can we make the business do, whether that's through operations, renovations, expansions, you name it. What can I make the business do? And we're just going to reference this as stage 2, okay? So in this example, stage 1, we're going to be purchasing the property for $600,000. And if we come down and look, net operating income is just over $40,000 for this property. Now, to get to stage 2, I feel like we have to put at least $25,000 into this property, which makes us all in for $625,000, okay? Now, if we come down and look at net operating income of stage 2, so again, this is the net operating income after I feel like we come in with our management system and we increase the value or increase the net operating income of what the business is doing. Now, on a comfortable level, I feel like we can only get $45,000, just over $45,000 on the net operating income for this property. And if we think back on what it was $40,000, right? So we're going from $40,000 to $45,000. That's not that much of a jump in value there. So then what I do is I look at, okay, what would the value of that business, of that property be at an 8% capitalization rate? So I use an 8 cap for our properties. If it's something newer, maybe in a bigger market, I might use a 7. The people that I've talked to, I think that is a little bit conservative, but I would rather be conservative in that approach and say, okay, what is this business that we bought, you know, after we add the value to it, after we come in with our management strategy, what is that value based out of 7 or based out of 8 cap? So for this particular property, for this particular business, I am valuing this at an 8 cap. And with that 8 cap formula there, that puts the value of this particular facility at $565,000. Now, if we think back, we had to pay $600 for it, plus put the $25 into it. So for me, this is not a deal, right? Because we're in it for $625, and based on my level of comfort, I feel like that facility is only worth $565,000. Now, could you come in here and underwrite this at a 5 cap and have an equity there? Absolutely. But again, I don't feel comfortable underwriting something at a 5 cap. I want to be conservative, especially if it's a market that we don't know. So this I'm writing as an 8 cap, 565 compared to the 625 that were in it. Not a deal for us. Now, let me show you something that we would think about making an offer on. So with this property, again, this is another one that was sent to me this week. This property, we'd be looking at a $500,000 purchase price, net operating income of $35,000, and I feel like we have to put $15,000 into this property, and we would eventually have a net operating income of $50,000, just over $50,000 on this particular property here. So if we go back and look, the new value based on the same 8 cap, the new value of this facility is $630,000. Now we're in it for $515,000. So if we can buy this facility for $500,000, put $15,000 in it, we're all in for $515,000. I feel like it'll take us 1 to 2 years to get the net operating income to just over $50,000. That is an equity gain of right around $115,000. So for me, this is good enough to say, okay, let's take the next step. Let's recheck, what our market comps are going to be. Let me just rerun and really get these numbers just as accurate as I possibly can get them. Spend more time diving into the market. And then let's figure out a financing strategy for this. Because if we needed to bring on an outside investor on this particular deal, I know that there's enough room there. There's enough equity room there between the $515,000 that we're in it and the $630,000 that it would very comfortably appraise for or be valued at. There's enough room there where if something goes wrong, if the market would take a downturn, if we can't get that net operating income quite to what it could be, if it gets stressed from an outside factor or an internal factor, there's enough room there where we can wiggle back and forth. So again, at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is what is NOI at stage 1 when we buy it, what is NOI at stage 2 after we put our management system in place, and what is that gap between what we bought it for and what the new value of the property is. So if you like this video, I'll be sharing more videos about what I look for in our initial underwriting process and our deep dive underwriting process here in the near future.